All right, y'all. Today we are doing a compilation, and the theme is very simple. Some people look at a situation and think, I have all the power here. I can do whatever I want. This person can't touch me. They are wrong. Every single time. Let's get into it. Our first story today stars a 70-pound Malamute who was patient for months. And one day he decided he was done. And honestly, I respect every single thing that happened next. This guy has a dog, his best friend for 7 years. Moved with him 3 times, was there for graduations and milestones, the whole thing. This is family. This dog is family. His neighbor gets a drone. Fine, hobbies are hobbies, but this neighbor decides to fly his drone like the absolute biggest jerk possible. Hovering outside windows, racing cars down the road, and worst of all, flying into this man's fenced backyard and buzzing his dog, diving low right over the dog's head, over and over. The dog is terrified. The owner asks the neighbor to stop multiple times. Neighbor laughs in his face. He calls the police. Police ask nicely. Neighbor keeps doing it. And then one day in late December, the dog got tired of this. The drone came diving down one last time, and that Malamute caught it mid-air and shredded it. Wires and plastic everywhere. Neighbor storms over, swearing and threatening, gets ignored. And then a week later, a summons to small claims court. $900 for the drone plus $300 for supposedly denying him access to his property. Our guy goes to Reddit's legal advice, and it turns out being sued was the best thing that could have ever happened to him, because now he had a reason to document everything. He shows up to court with photos proving the drone couldn't have been that low accidentally. Videos of the harassment and vet bills, x-rays, sedation, dental work, anti-anxiety meds, follow-up appointments, wet food during recovery, nearly $2,000. The judge laughed off the claim that the dog was specially trained to attack drones, then flipped the case entirely. The neighbor didn't just lose, he ended up owing almost $2,000. And then the neighbor got reported to the FAA. No registered drone flying too close to an airport, way above the altitude limit, out of sight of the operator. Enjoy never being allowed to fly drones again. All the neighbor had to do was not terrorize a dog. He could not manage that. Up next, a Florida HOA that thought a 40-year-old rule made them untouchable. Mom had other ideas. Story 2. A Florida HOA tried to use a 40-year-old rule to hit a family with a $25,000 fine and force them to tear off the roof they just installed after a hurricane. The dad is ex-Navy and a contract negotiator. The mom is sweet as pie and twice as dangerous. Let's go. This family lives in a nice neighborhood in Florida. After a couple of hurricanes came through and damaged their roof, they decided to upgrade to a metal roof. More durable, more energy efficient, better for Florida weather. Smart call. Then they checked the HOA bylaws. Turns out, as of 1989, metal roofs are prohibited, subject to fines and mandatory removal. Now, this rule was clearly written about old, cheap tin roofing from the 80s, not modern metal roofing, which looks great and is legitimately eco-friendly. The family called the HOA to explain this and asked for an exemption. HOA said they'd look into it. Very friendly. That was the last friendly thing the HOA did. 2 months went by, no response. Meanwhile, their existing roof, covered in a tarp, wasn't going to last forever. They couldn't get a contractor in anyway because every roofer in Florida was slammed with hurricane work. So after 2 months of silence, they said, forget it, and installed the roof. It looked great. The neighborhood liked it, and then the HOA showed up. Turns out the HOA was strapped for cash from hurricane repairs, and somebody had decided the solution was to fine as many homeowners as possible. They served this family with a letter demanding a $25,000 fine and immediate removal of the roof. Mom was genuinely worried. She's a play-by-the-rules kind of person, and this was terrifying. Dad is ex-Navy and has spent his career as a contract negotiator. He looked at this letter and said, and I'm paraphrasing slightly, "Oh, so we're doing this." They got to researching and they found it. There's a law in Florida stating that an HOA cannot be used to prevent an eco-friendly improvement on private property. And the passive solar efficiency of their metal roof qualifies. The roofing company had dealt with this exact situation before and had documentation, letters of accreditation, and prior court cases where the roof had been ruled eco-friendly and the HOA had been ordered to pay all the legal fees. The HOA called a meeting where they would formally tear into this family for daring to install their roof without permission. It was open to the whole neighborhood. Mom walked up to the podium. The HOA head said they had had their 40-year-old statute on their side. Mom said, "You do, and I have state law, which supersedes your statute." She produced the documentation. The HOA had to admit it was ironclad. Strapped for money as they were, they couldn't afford to fight in court. The HOA head growled, "Is that all?" Mom turned the sweetness up to maximum. "No, I see in the bylaws that we can vote to impeach board members at any HOA meeting and elect their replacements. I move to impeach all of you. I nominate my husband." And she rattled off a list of names she'd already lined up. Because while Dad had been researching the legal angle, Mom had been working the neighborhood. Popular opinion was already on their side. She had already organized a majority of homeowners to attend this very meeting, specifically for this purpose. The board was impeached on the spot. Dad and Mom are now on the new HOA board. Metal roofs are permitted, and Dad is putting his contract skills and his own craftsmanship to work repairing the front entrance that the old board couldn't afford to fix. They just wanted a better roof after a hurricane. That's it. Next up, a man who found out his wife was having an affair with her addictions counselor and filed a complaint before the ink on the divorce papers was even dry. Story 3 is short, surgical, and absolutely devastating. A man put his wife through rehab, $25,000 out of pocket, only to find out she had started an affair with her addictions counselor. He didn't yell, he didn't make a scene, he filed a complaint with the state licensing board, and then he waited for the exact right moment. 18 years of marriage. His wife struggled with alcoholism, and he paid $25,000 to send her through rehab. That is not a small thing. That is a husband who showed up. What he got in return was a wife who started an affair with her addictions counselor, which, if you know, is one of the most serious ethical violations that exists in the profession. It's not just frowned upon, it can end a career entirely. He was furious, and he was strategic. Before the divorce was even finalized, he filed a formal complaint with the state body that licenses health professionals. And then, here's the beautiful part, he let the divorce proceed. His wife and her counselor knew the complaint was out there. That knowledge made her back way off her demands in the divorce settlement. He paid a very modest settlement, kept the house, got primary custody of their 3 kids, and got child support. Her divorce lawyer, trying to protect the relationship, included a clause requiring him not to say anything negative about the counselor and the affair. But the lawyer made one critical mistake. He never asked whether charges had already been filed. He assumed this was about bad-mouthing them to friends and neighbors. It never occurred to him that this man had already set the legal machinery in motion. Shortly after the divorce was finalized, the state licensing board came back to him for his testimony. He told him it would take a subpoena to get him to talk. They were happy to oblige. A subpoena supersedes a divorce settlement agreement. The counselor's license was stripped. He was placed on a registry of sanctioned health professionals. He never worked in his field again. The couple burned through whatever money they had. The counselor's mother passed away and left him an estate, which bought them a few more years, but eventually that ran out too. She divorced him when all the money was gone. And the bonus? The counselor's own wife had been going through her divorce at the same time. She and our guy traded notes, hotel receipts, dates, documentation from the affair. That helped both of them in their respective cases. He put his wife through rehab out of love. She chose this, and he made sure there were consequences. License stripped, never worked again, absolutely earned. Last story. A landlord who told a young tenant, "You don't have to like it, you just have to pay it." 5 years later, those exact words came back to him in the worst possible way. Our last story is a slow burn, and the payoff is so good. A landlord was jealous of how much money his young tenant made. So when it came time to extend the lease by 2 months, he raised the rent by 50%. He said, and these words are going to come back to haunt him, "You don't have to like it, you just have to pay it." Our guy never forgot those words, and he just had to wait for the right moment to use them. Late 90s. Our guy and his wife are newly married, both working, saving up for a house. He's a young software developer who just got recruited to a new city with a salary that, for a 23-year-old in the .com era, was genuinely impressive, $75,000 a year. Together with his wife's income, they were a 6-figure household renting an apartment, very much beneath their means. The plan was simple. 1 year, save everything, buy a house. They rent from a landlord I'll call Hank. Hank is fine, a little dry and humorless, but fine, except that Hank cannot stop mentioning how much money our guy makes. He says it multiple times when they sign the lease. He mutters about it when he sees them during the year. It's weird and awkward every time. 1 year in, they found their house, but it won't be ready for 2 months after the lease ends. They call Hank and ask, as previously discussed, if they can stay month to month for those 2 months. "No problem," Hank says. "I'll send over the extension." The extension arrives with a $500 per month rent increase. Over 50%. More than the mortgage on their new house was going to be. Our guy calls Hank. Hank is condescending and unbothered. "It's what the apartment goes for now. I'd be losing money for renting it for less." Our guy argues. Hank ends the conversation with, "You don't have to like it, Rocky Moose. You just have to pay it." They couldn't make moving out early work. So he swallowed his pride and wrote out those checks. And then Hank withheld $300 from the security deposit for nonsense charges that were clearly just another squeeze. Then our guy saw Hank's listing after they moved out. The apartment was listed at $150 more than the original rent, not $500. And it didn't rent. A month later, it was relisted at $75 more than the original and apparently rented then. Hank had invented that $500 increase specifically because he knew they could afford it and had no choice. Our guy filed that away. Life moved on. .com bubble burst. Baby arrived. 5 years passed. One day at work, he overhears a coworker, let's call him Phil, telling the front desk that someone named Hank Wazowski is dropping off paperwork. He freezes. He walks over. He asks Phil how he knows that name. Phil explains. Hank is his real estate agent. Phil is selling his condo and buying a house and plans to use Hank for both transactions. Our guy quickly does the math out loud. Selling a condo, buying a house? That's $600,000 to $700,000 in combined transactions in an early 2000s hot real estate market. 3% commission on both sides. That's around $20,000 for the agent, isn't it? Right on cue, the front door opens and Hank walks in. He doesn't recognize our guy at first. They shake hands. Our guy reintroduces himself very, very pleasantly. the software developer who rented from you on that street a few years back. This is where I work. Here. With Phil. He watches Hank's eyes as it all comes together. Hank makes excuses and leaves quickly. As soon as the door shuts, our guy turns to Phil and says, just loud enough for Hank to hear through the closing door, Phil, don't sign anything yet. I have a story to tell you. He tells Phil everything. The rent hike, the security deposit games, the words, you don't have to like it, you just have to pay it. Phil is surprised. He'd always found Hank straightforward, but he says, I totally see him doing that to you. There's no way I can use him now. What a piece of work. Then Phil's eyes light up. What do you want me to say when I fire him? They planned it out together. The next day, Phil made the call. Our guy stood behind him and listened. Hi, Hank. It's Phil. I've decided to get some other quotes from other agents. I'm not going to sign with you. Pause. No, you shouldn't give a discount. You'd be losing money if you did that. Pause. No, this is just a decision I've made. It has nothing to do with Rocky Moose. Pause. Well, Hank, you don't have to like it. You just have to accept it. Goodbye. Click. $20,000 in easy commissions gone. And Hank knew exactly why. 4 stories, 1 dog, 2 parents, 1 very prepared ex-husband, and 1 guy who waited 5 years for the exact right moment. The lesson from every single one of these, as far as I can tell, is this. Be careful how you treat people, because you genuinely never know who you're dealing with or when you're going to run into them again. Drop a comment which one of these got you the most. I need to know. And if you've got a story like one of these, drop it below because I will be reading them. I'll see you in the next one.